Hey, I'm a weird figure racing on the rooftops of Gotham, and today I wanted to talk to you about one of Batman's first recurring supervillains, Hugo Strange. So, created by Bill Finger and Bob Kane in 1937, Batman first appeared in the 27th issue of Detective Comics. Hugo Strange never didn't doesn't make his first appearance until February of 1940, Detective Comics issue 36. Batman was still a solo act by this point, since Robin hadn't shown up yet. Our story begins um, one night. Batman's making his way home, and he sees a man jump out of a moving car. The man gets gunned down basically immediately by the guy in the car. Batman goes down, checks on the guy, and with his last breath, he says something about a strange fog. Batman searches the man's pockets, I assume for some form of identification, but it's a really funny idea to me of like this guy dies and Batman's like, he doesn't need this shit anymore. Because he finds a small black notebook, but before he can look inside, the police show up and immediately assume that Batman has killed this man. Because, again, he's not been doing this for very long, so they don't know that he's like chill. Back at his home later that day, Bruce Wayne ruminates over the dead man's words. He quickly realizes that this man was not talking about a strange fog, but Hugo Strange, who is, quote, a scientist, philosopher, and criminal genius. Bruce Wayne assumes that Hugo Strange must have a fog experiment of some kind. Hugo Strange is apparently the most dangerous man in the world and the greatest crime organizer. This is before Joker's first appearance in the first issue of Batman on April 25th in 1940, so later that same year. Bruce finally looks through the notebook only to find that it's completely blank aside from one page. This page is a list of names, banks, other companies, stuff like that. Bruce quickly realizes that the dead man was an FBI agent thanks to a nice little note at the bottom of the notebook page that basically just said that return to the FBI if you find this notebook. They probably hit him with the old, like, if you're a cop, you legally have to tell me. And he was like, oh, well, I'm in the FBI, man. Bruce vows to solve the murder, considering solving the murder would get Batman cleared of the suspicion. So we cut from Bruce's not manor to the scene of a shadowy man sitting in front of a fireplace. This man is Professor Hugo Strange. He is, quote, brooding over the many evil schemes that surge through his brilliant but distorted brain. I'm not crazy sure they needed to point out that his brain was distorted, but you know, that's, I guess, character trait. He's got a weird head. He is interrupted by the driver of the car that shot the man earlier, who tells him about how we killed the guy, but Batman showed up. Strange lights into this man for not killing Batman because Batman is the only man with the imagination to figure out their schemes, basically. Since Hugo Strange assumes that Batman can't get information from a dead man, which rookie mistake, he'll learn. They decide to strike tomorrow as planned for their next robbery. You coming? Come on, man. Come on. Sure enough, the next night a thick fog rolls over nondescript city. Gotham wouldn't be the setting for this until Batman issue number 4. Two cops talk about how difficult it would be to chase criminals in this fog. You know, it's really heavy. You can't see them. So what are they going to do? As if to prove his point, the next 2 nights, multiple locations are hit, and every time the bandits get away into the fog. I get the whole like, well, we can't chase criminals because we can't see, but how do the criminals see? They don't have like special fog glasses, I would assume. Back at Bruce Wayne's house again, the radio is playing, informing him of the robberies, and a along with an update that Henry Jenkins, an electrical engineer, he's been missing and still haven't found him. No clues, no updates, no idea where this man is. Bruce thinks about that for a second before we move on. A moving van pulls up in front of the Sterling Silver Company warehouse, and we see a group of thugs standing, hiding by the door. One of the thugs knocks on the door, claiming to be a detective. The night watchman opens the door and he is quickly held at gunpoint. They come inside. They start robbing. Once all the thugs are inside, the night watchman reveals himself to be Batman. He's like, he changes out of it. He changes into his costume. He goes from raggedy old man to not that, which leaves me with one question. When did he put his gloves on? Like, did he ask the gunman holding him up to, like, wait? Like, don't, hold on. Don't shoot me. I've got to put my gloves on? Or was the gunman just, like, sitting there and he sees a guy dressed like Batman and he's like, oh, whatever. And then, like, Batman puts his gloves on and he's like, oh my god, it's the Bat. A Perry the Platypus situation. Batman literally bowls through the thugs, and then he alerts the police to their location by shooting up into the air. Not necessarily safe, but it's fine. The next morning, Strange is alerted via newspaper of his thug's failure, leading him to realize that the dead man, the FBI agent, must have talked to Batman before he died. He is apparently unaware of the journal that says, hey, I'm an FBI agent. So maybe he did fall for the legally, you have to tell me if you're a cop thing. Hit all your new thug hires with that one, and you'll be good to go. He decides to set a trap for Batman at their next heist point, which is the Wolf Bros Fur Company. He also crushes a wine glass with his bare fist, which I think is pretty baller. Just, I don't think I could do that. You know? I mean, maybe I could if I tried. I don't know. I guess I've never tried. The next night, Batman shows up at the fur company as expected. He steps into the dark building, and all at once the lights come on, and Batman is rushed by a group of thugs. Instead of trying to fight them, Batman grabs a rope above their heads, swings onto a balcony, and then when they all come rushing up the steps, he just kind of kicks them back down. He's beating the hell out of these guys. He's like really laying into them, and then he gets knocked out by one punch on the back of the head. One. Just a back of the head. He's done. Thugs tie him up and take him back to Strange's headquarters, and once he wakes up, Strange decides to entertain him with a whip. How nice. Batman's tied up, he's dangling from the wall, and then as soon as that first lash hits, he just kind of flexes out of the ropes. The ropes snap. He drops a capsule of sleeping gas, which Strange says will not work on him. Why? It just doesn't. Don't ask questions. So Batman goes the old-fashioned route and just decides to beat his ass. That works. Strange puts up an insane amount of fight considering Batman just took on 12 guys and, like, he didn't win the fight, but he took on 12 guys and didn't, like, die. So Batman wins, ties him up, and then he wanders into Strange's lab through a locked door that he noticed earlier. Inside the lab, he finds a giant machine and the missing engineer Henry Jenkins, who informs Batman that Strange found out that he discovered how to make concentrated lightning. So when you make the concentrated lightning, it produces a giant amount of steam. So what Strange did was basically had him make a giant lightning machine. Where the lightning went, I don't know. Maybe they sold it. So from the inside of the state penitentiary, Strange vows to spend the rest of his life getting revenge on Batman, and that is the last time we see him. Until, like, a couple months later. Issue number 1 of the first official Batman comic comes out April 25th, like I said earlier. Bruce has officially adopted Dick Grayson by this point, and Dick Grayson is Robin, but he is not in this. So I guess Bruce was just like, no, you can stay home, buddy. You don't have to do this. I got this one. You stay home. We start right where we left off with Strange in the penitentiary, but instead of vowing to get revenge on Batman, he and his thugs have guns and they're shooting people. After they break out of the penitentiary, they go to Metropolis, to the quote insane asylum in Metropolis, and break out 5 inmates. Where was Superman? What was he doing? Not his problem. It's a Batman problem, you know? Batman hears about the breakout over the radio, but there are no clues and nothing happens until about a month later. So about a month later, on a crowded street in lower Manhattan, the crowd is suddenly rocked by fear when a giant appeared. 15 feet tall, purple trench coat giant. He just causes chaos. Just absolutely blasts these people. He's picking up cars, he's throwing them. He rips a lamppost out of the ground and like swings it into a crowd of cops. Bullets do nothing against this giant. And then he gets into the back of a truck and then the truck takes off. A cop car follows and the giant throws an explosive at the car. It blows up and they're gone. So Batman hears about the attack over the radio and assumes that it has to be Strange. The man, not the adjective. The next day, when the giant appears, Batman is ready to follow the truck in the Batplane. The truck leads him to a barn out in the country of New York, like outskirts of New York City, I would assume. He lands the plane, he gets out, he goes to the doors, and they just open. He assumes, rightly so, that it has to be a trap, and instead of looking around to see if he could enter through a different way, he just walks inside. I mean, it's the quickest way to find out if it's a trap. He's immediately grabbed by two of the giants and brought deeper in to the barn where Hugo Strange is waiting for him because it was a trap. Batman is like, well, now that you've caught me, I probably won't live that long. So why don't you just tell me why and how you did this? And Strange is like, absolutely. Sit down, we've got 30 minutes. Strange explains that he discovered an extract that speeds up the growth glands. I'm not a scientist, so I don't know that this is accurate. Not that it matters. When injected into a normal man, it distorts the giants, or it distorts the man into the giant monsters that we see, and it like messes with their brain also. So it like I assume it turns their brains into pudding that is easily digestible. His master plan is send the 5 inmates turned monsters into the city so that his goons can go rob the banks. I am reminded of that one guy in the Spider-Man comic who like turns people into dinosaurs, and Spider-Man's like, "Oh, you could cure cancer." And he's like, "Well, I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs." Like, dude, you're doing all of this. You could cure cancer. You could cure diseases. You could figure this out. Just get rich doing that. And he's like, "Nah. I want to turn these guys into monsters and then rob banks. I don't even want to rob the banks. I'm just gonna sit here like this while my guys rob the banks for me." Which, like, I guess I'd probably do the same thing, but I'm not out here with the ability to solve cancer. So after he gets done with his monologue, he has one of his monsters remove Batman's utility belt and he injects Batman with the growth serum. And he explains to Batman that he has 18 hours until he turns into a monster. It's not a steady process. I assume once you hit that 18 hours, you just into that. He is knocked unconscious and locked away. And he wakes, according to a clock, almost 18 hours later, just in time to see Strange prepare a convoy of the monsters and his goons. Batman no longer has his belt, but luckily for him, he's always prepared and he has the ability, or he has the chemicals needed to make an explosive stored in his belt. Or not his belt, stored in his boot. So he makes an explosive, he blows up the wall. After 2 of the monsters in the convoy have already left, Batman attacks Strange, and he like just knocks his ass out, and then Strange falls through a window into the murky water below. Batman barely has time to wonder if Strange is actually dead before the rest of the monsters show up to kill him. Through the use of a pole, like used to open like skylights in tall buildings, knocks one out, I assume. So there's 5 monsters, but after like the fight starts, you can only account for like 4 of them. And I don't know if that's just me. I'm like I can't keep up, or if he just knocks one out and then that one's still alive somewhere. So he knocks the one out, and then the other 2 come shambling up, and he reaches the hook in between the one's legs, hooks him out, and so he falls back into the monster behind him. Then they start tussling, fighting to the death. How dare you fall on me? And so they're duking it out, they're punching each other, and Batman's got 5 minutes left to make the antidote. He has to make the antidote in the 5 minutes and pray to God that they don't get done or they don't fall on him or something. Stressful situation. He makes the antidote, he injects it, he's good to go. There will be no residual side effects from this. He leaves the building with the knowledge that the 2 monsters have killed each other. He gets in his bat plane and he flies off to tail the two trucks. He finds the one truck. He says, and I quote, "Much as I hate to take human life, I'm afraid this time it's necessary," end quote. He shoots the truck. It crashes into a tree, killing both drivers immediately. And then the monster flies out of the truck. He gets a rope, loops it around the monster's neck, flies off so that it creates a noose. The monster suffocates, dies, and he cuts the rope loose. Flies off to find the next truck, which is already in the city. He does the same thing, shoots the tires, the truck crashes, kills both drivers, the monster shambles out. He sees the bat plane, rightly assumes that it's an enemy, and he climbs the tallest building in the city. So it's a nice little homage to King Kong, which came out in 1933. Bullets do nothing, because I forgot to mention this, but Hugo Strange gave the monsters bulletproof vests, which don't protect the arms, head, or the legs. You're telling me that you're firing a machine gun on a plane and you don't accidentally hit the arms, legs, or the head? You're just hitting the torso? Why do you even have a gun if you don't want to kill people? So Batman drops a capsule of gas onto the giant. It's not described what kind of gas this is, but it seems to do the trick. The monster roars at the bat plane, loses his balance, tumbles, and dies. Bruce goes home, wondering if Strange is really dead this time. The next time we see Hugo Strange is later that year, 1940, Detective Comics issue number 46. The story opens on a group of thugs raiding another silver warehouse. Batman stops the thugs with ease, but before he can hit the last thug, this thug decides, hey, I will give you information if you don't put me in jail, because my mom would be really disappointed in me. The thug says, hey, you gotta protect me if I tell you this stuff. Batman says, they can't hear you. They're unconscious. They can't hear you. You're good to go. The thug tells him about how a man named Carstairs and a professor have planned this whole racketeering ring. Batman tells the thug, hey, when are you guys meeting next? He's like, oh, well, we gotta go later tonight. But, with them going to jail, we're not gonna make it. Batman says, no, you're gonna go to that meeting. I'm gonna leave these guys here. You're gonna go to that meeting. And then tomorrow at noon, you're gonna come back to me. You're gonna tell me what was said. The thug tells Batman that the professor has some stuff and gives him pills that make Batman immune to said stuff. So later that night at the meeting, Carstairs introduces the professor, who is indeed Hugo Strange. Strange instructs them that they will be hitting the banks all at noon, which scheduling conflict. I can't warn the Batman about your plan if we're having it at noon. So can we push it back a little? The thug is unable to warn Batman of the upcoming attacks, and the next day at noon, banks and stores all across the city are hit at the same time with a fine spray of dust that hits you right in the fear part of your brain, thus introducing fear toxin for the first time. This is almost a year before Scarecrow's debut in World's Finest issue 3, 1941, and 27 years before Scarecrow's first usage of fear toxin in 1967. Also, some frankly sick looking artwork. This is what all of my panic attacks look like. After the attacks, all the thugs gather in the same room to drop off the loot. Strange notes that one of the thugs acting a little weird. He tells his men to trail the thug. That thug leads them directly to Batman, who is jumped by the thugs and taken to Strange. Strange informs Batman that he's going to vent all his frustration out on Batman and doesn't actually touch him. He just gets his thugs to beat the shit out of him. So they beat him until he's unconscious, and he wakes up just in time to hear Strange monologuing about dousing the entire country in fear dust so that he can take over, become a dictator of America. I wonder what was going on around that time that might have made them think that nothing happened in 1940. They don't bother restraining Batman at all after they kick his ass, so he just gets up, and after Strange leaves, he goes and takes out the remaining thugs. After the goons are dealt with, he calls Robin, finally, and gives him his instructions. So Batman rushes to the subway before they can spray a crowded train car with the fear dust. Meanwhile, Robin takes care of a group of thugs about to pour fear toxin into the water reservoir of the city. We get a little bit of Robin tightrope action, kicks the hell out of him, and then goes to the theater, rinse, repeat. Batman, however, has found Strange at Strange's secret airplane hangar, where Strange's plane has malfunctioned. Strange planned to take the plane and basically, I guess, douse the whole country in fear toxin. But again, his plane malfunctioned, making him vulnerable to billionaires dressed like a bat. They tussle, like most Batman villains in the Golden Age. He falls off a cliff and dies, but like for real this time. Batman and Robin make an antidote for all the citizens that they couldn't save in the first wave of attacks, and that's the last time we see Hugo Strange until Detective Comics issue 469. I haven't read that one, but I mostly just wanted to focus on his Golden Age appearances anyways. So if you enjoyed that, let me know. If there is a comic character that you want me to dive into the history of, also let me know. I am open to suggestions. I've got like 2 video ideas outside of this one that I wanted to do. And then that's it. Thank you for sitting through this whole video. If you did, I don't know why you would, but thank you. I appreciate it. What day is it? I don't know. But I hope you have a great one.